Hello again, everybody, and welcome to The Last Word. I'm Dan Roberts, the publisher of The Vegas Voice, and our goal is to introduce you to all the interesting people who have decided to seek public office. We have a great one today. Her name is Sigel Chattah, and she is the Republican candidate for Nevada Attorney General. Thank you so much for being here.
And thank you for having me, Dan.
Let's start, I guess, from the beginning, a little bit about your background. What would you like people to know about you, your background? We'll go into the professional stuff later.
Okay, so I was born in Israel, moved to Las Vegas when I was 14 years old, I'll give you the date.
All right, go ahead.
1989.
Yeah.
And lived here, went to high school here, graduated from Valley High School, went to UNLV.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I went to law school back east. There was no law school in Vegas yet.
Yeah.
So went to law school back east, and then I graduated law school and came back home.
You know, one of the things that I find absolutely amazing about people is that you've never had public office before.
Never.
You're always in private practice.
Always.
In this heated environment, why would anybody want to get involved in politics, especially in the position that you have as Attorney General, if you're successful? Why would you even do it?
Well, like you said, in this heated environment, I mean, it's precisely the heated environment that gives people that call.
Mm-hmm.
And you see that a lot of private sector, we'll call them private sector people are so fed up with the government abuse that's been going on for the past 2 years that they are willing to walk away from their businesses, from their private life, put themselves in the public eye and
Mm-hmm.
the public light to scrutiny because they believe that what we have in the private sector
Right.
is worth fighting for.
And with that in mind, you have a number of positions that you feel very strongly
Yes.
for or against. And I admire you for taking a stand one way or another, as opposed to the politicians that walk that line and they don't want to
They don't
do
wanna
anything.
budge.
That's exactly what it is. A little bit about yourself that, hey, if I'm elected to Attorney General, this is what I believe in, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, I mean, part of having that ability to take those positions and being flexible is the fact that I'm a trial lawyer by trade.
Uh-huh.
So doing this for over 20 years, you realize that, as a trial lawyer, I could argue both sides at any time. And I could do it as effectively as a proponent or an opponent.
I understand, sure.
So the things that I saw that really brought to light that fire to fight was, like I said, I mean, in these heated times. So my fights are not partisan fights. They were never partisan fights. They were fights on justice. And, and for example, the fight to reopen places of worship. I'm not a religious person, but I believe in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that in this country we have the free exercise. And, again, I'm an attorney. I'm going to fight for that right. And another one is, which really hit home because it was more my parents' demographic, was I did a lawsuit against the governor on the vaccine rollout. And it wasn't about mandates. It was about, we saw, and this was last December, or 2 Decembers ago.
Right.
The state of Nevada got batches of vaccines, and the way they were being distributed was essentially ignoring the senior citizen demographic. And my parents are right at the age where they're not above 75
Mm-hmm.
and they're not under 65. They're right smack dab in that decade,
Right.
of baby boomers. And, historically, seniors have always, historically, they've predominantly voted Democrat. So a lot of people look at that case and they say, well, who are you trying to appeal? To me, I saw that case as an opportunity because we knew seniors had higher comorbidities.
Mm-hmm.
And the way the distribution of the vaccines was going, it was being given to government officials, court clerks,
Essential workers, yep.
essential workers that really had no comorbidities and no reason to get vaccinated before those with those comorbidities. So I filed a lawsuit, and at the time that I filed the lawsuit, the distribution of the vaccines was 2,000, 3,000 a day. I filed it, and you could only get it if you were 75 or older.
Correct.
I filed it by the time that the judge wanted the state to present the evidence as to the rhyme and reason of these distributions. Sisolak had dropped the age from 75 to 65, and we saw a plan to mass vaccinate the communities. And one of the things that I take pride in is the fact that, like I said, the distribution was 2,000 to 3,000 a day. When I drafted my briefs, I said, let's use these high schools that were shut down and use them as mass vaccination sites. And that's how I actually got my vaccine.
Right. Yeah.
Because, I went to these, and to see it in work and in play that to me is the beauty of the law. That to me is the power of what I could do.
Well, let me ask you this, though, because I'm a former attorney.
Right.
The idea of suing the governor, I mean, you catch your breath for a second and say, oh, my God, look what I'm doing. I'm taking on power. Did that ever concern you at all?
No.
Not at all?
No, not at all. It probably should have. But in my line of work and the cases that I've litigated over the course of time, wrong is wrong. I don't care if you are just John Doe on the street, and it's a breach of contract lawsuit.
Right.
Or if you're the governor of the state of Nevada and the attorney general. Wrong is wrong, right is right.
And with that in mind, because, I mean, it's like a pistol going off, you're not afraid to say no to power. You're not afraid to challenge them, so to speak. What do you want seniors to know about you if you're elected as Attorney General? Because you know what? Maybe no one knows who the Attorney General is until there's a problem. And then who put that person in? It's one of those things. What do you want seniors to know about you?
The thing that seniors need to know, and this is, again, some of my staunchest supporters during the vaccines case, was a group called RISE, which is a historically progressive group. Yes, I'm a Republican, but my position is always nonpartisan as an attorney general. What seniors need to know is that I will fight for them as seniors and deal with their concerns as that age demographic. And I've shown it.
And I guess a question I have for you is, it is one thing to be a trial lawyer. I mean, you're really in charge. You're the man, you're the lady, you're the person in charge of everything. And you have to answer to a judge. But as Attorney General, not only are you still an attorney, but you're really a politician. And how do you navigate your way?
I hate that. That's my least favorite part of this whole process.
Right.
Because I really breathe, swim, drink the courtroom. The adversarial nature of it, the burdens of proof, the excitement. I always say that all the excitement during trials happens on my side of the bench, and the judge is just there to overrule or sustain objections. And that's something that my concern towards the state and the state's future is so great that I'm willing to walk away from that part of my life for 4 years. I'm hoping I could get done what I want to get done in 4 years.
Right.
And then go right back into the courtroom. I have absolutely no aspirations. People tell me never say never, but I could say never say never, because I will go from Attorney General's office straight back into the courtroom.
Without a moment of regret.
Not a moment's regret.
I know you were in the news a couple of weeks ago about the mask mandate in schools.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because again, that resonates with everyone in our neighborhood, because if it's not their children, it's their grandchildren.
Right.
What do you talk a little bit about that lawsuit?
So the mask mandate lawsuit was really about allowing parents to participate in that decision-making process. And I'm sure a lot of your viewers and your readers will know that when it came down to vaccinating teachers, okay, at the beginning of the school year, there was a huge public outcry against that. We are fortunate in the state of Nevada, especially in Clark County, that parents can participate through the Board of Trustees. Tonight they're going to have a meeting. They meet every other every other Thursday.
Right.
And they have that ability to give their 2 cents in the decision-making process. And with mask mandates, I found that they were completely shut out. It was a mandate by the governor.
Right.
It had absolutely no scientific public discussion. Okay. Now, you're a lawyer, I'm a lawyer. We know magic happens in trials with experts, right? So my expert will always try to knock your expert out.
Correct.
So when we're dealing with, the adverse effects of masking children, there's got to be some public discourse. And there was no public discourse. And that was what the mask mandate lawsuit was about. That when the state of Nevada and Clark County School District provides parents that forum to discuss these issues historically, and it happened, like I said, with teachers and vaccinations and other types of curriculum, there was none of that discussion, and that is where the constitutional imperative failed.
Did you see it more as a political problem or a legal issue?
I look at it as a legal issue as an attorney, but do I think it's a legal issue that's been highly politicized? Absolutely.
And, in the time that we have left, the thing that you mainly want to get across to seniors, look at that camera and say, listen, if I'm elected to Attorney General, this is what I can promise you, or this is what I can't promise you.
Well, one of the things that I could say is I will always promise transparency. That is the most important thing to me. As Attorney General, this Attorney General has failed repeatedly as far as transparency is concerned. And then another thing is public safety. I am a law and order candidate. I will run the AG's office like the top cop that it should be run. Okay, I will empower the district attorneys to prosecute crimes and not run the Attorney General's office essentially like a public defender has. And those are really the 2 issues that I think are the core of protection that the AG's office should engage in. And then there's, there's a plethora of civil issues,
right?
Ponzi schemes, prosecutions of them, insurance fraud, Medicaid fraud. There's 1,000,001 different things that the AG's office
And
does.
you know what? We would like to get you back on and explore that if we can. If people want more information about you, if they want to support you, they want to contribute, how do they go about doing it?
Well, they could always go on my website. It's chattahfornevada.com. And it's CHATTAH, the number 4.
And we'll have a little graph right here on the bottom.
Have a little ticker?
Hopefully. Yep, go ahead.
Beautiful. And that's how they could always reach out. I always welcome questions. To me, I don't shy away from public forums because that's part of transparency and that's part of the people need to know who they're voting for.
Well, I thank you so much for being here. We'd like to have you on again,
Absolutely.
Sigel. And this is Dan Roberts for The Last Word saying thank you so much, and we'll see you again soon.